We're three guys, and here is today's ball. How training brought us together. What's going on, Paul? What's going on, Jake?
What's going on, Tim?
What's up, Tim?
And why are you guys not dressed up, bro? I put on a dress shirt and stuff, did my hair. You guys are rocking hats.
We're hat guys. I don't know what to tell you.
Dude,
I got dressed up for the dance, and we're not going to dance. Is that what's going on?
Hey, we can push pause, and I can change real fast.
You're dressed up for winter formal, and this is Sadie's Hawkins dance. That's what it is.
There we go. Nice. Love it. Hey, Paul. Let's start off with let's each give a little bit of our career story, just a couple minutes to familiarize the audience with who we are and which perspectives we're going to be coming from. So, Paul, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Paul. I am the founder of Century Institute, which is a training firm for security and firearms, as well as active shooter training. So my career started in the military in 2003. I was there during the invasion. I think I was there about 3 weeks before we actually went in country. And then I went again in 2008 to 2009, training police officers. After I got out of the military, I worked in logistics for a little while. I dealt with security on a regular basis there, even though that wasn't technically my primary role. I just happened to find myself dealing with them. And got out of that industry, and now I'm doing this full time.
Nice. Jake?
Yeah, so my name is Jake Edwards, and I joined the Marine Corps in 2003.
So you joined in 2003?
Yeah.
Were you trying to catch up to the war while Paul and I were kicking it off?
No, I was trying to be a Marine, and that takes a little longer. So
You're right. They gotta help you think. It's a harder process to teach people to think. I get it. All right.
Yeah. Well. Okay. All right. Real quick. When you go to boot camp, they call you a soldier, right? Yeah. When you go to Marine boot camp, they call you a recruit. You got to earn the title. Okay. So soldiers off the bat, I was a recruit in 2003, and then in 2004, a year from graduating boot camp, I was deployed to Iraq in Al Anbar province, and we were just outside Fallujah, and I lived at Abu Ghraib prison until we led up with our battalion, and we were the main assault effort for the second battle of Fallujah for 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines. Then I was there for the elections, first ever free elections for Iraq in 2005, and we led that whole entire setup and process. And then I went back home, and I was trying to lat move into intel, and I ended up just dropping to the reserves and finishing my time there. And then I got a government contracting job in 2010 as a combat skills instructor, teaching to about 2,500 students a year that deployed all around the world. And now I currently work for one of the largest school divisions in the country as the crisis management administrator. And I have a startup company called Lead Tactics, my hat here. And we teach active shooter training, active threat response training with the acronym LEAD, Lock, Escape, Alert, Defend. And we also do team development workshops. So that takes me to where I'm at. What about you, Tim?
Hey, so my name is Tim Wenzel. And in 2nd grade, I told my mom I was dropping out of school, and she laughed at me. But then I tried again in high school, but they also laughed at me. And so I joined the Army in my junior year, went to basic between my junior and senior year, came back, finished high school. And it's probably the reason I actually did finish high school. And then I went to medic school and became an Army medic.
You're an Army medic?
Actually, I was in the National.
Looks too nice.
I was in the National Guard, so
that's
part-time Army. But hey, you know what? I had a life, so whatever, bro.
Same school though, right?
Sure.
Medic school is the same whether you're in guard or reserve or active duty.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's good to have fun. So since I was part-time, I worked in healthcare. I stabbed people. I was a phlebotomist, and I worked on the ambulance. And then in 2003, right away, I got orders for like, hey, you're going to annual training next week. which is weird because we already had it scheduled for like the summer, like all National Guardians. And so we did our MOBEX training, and then we went and got to Kuwait, I think right around the time they blew the berms. And so we were hanging out in warehouses and Arif Jam. And we were one of the first units to do 15 months. When we got extended, we got sent to Abu Ghraib prison because that unit had actually just got moved to where we had gone, so they could begin investigations and court martialings, which is kind of interesting. And then I came home, and the ambulance was not fun anymore. And so I thought that I might get into security because the whole thing was, if I was going to do something else in the medical industry, I'd have to go to college. And I've been trying to drop out since 2nd grade, so that wasn't going to happen. And so I had a buddy say, well, you should do executive protection. You're a paramedic. Makes sense. And I said, okay, I don't know anybody that does executive protection. Went to ESI, did some networking, ended up back overseas as a contractor from 2007 to 2010. And then went out to DC and worked with some dignitaries, ended up teaching at the State Department when Benghazi happened. And then my team ended up revamping FACT to meet the new requirements for security training for diplomats. And then I had a buddy call me up and said, hey, have you ever thought about working at Facebook? And I said, what would I do at Facebook? And that was 7 years ago.
Did you figure out what you were doing at Facebook?
You know, the funny thing is, I think they're still trying to figure out what I'm doing at Facebook. So it's kind of cool. I like to say I was a diversity hire because they hire so many smart people. I just bring a new perspective to every meeting.
Was it the beard?
I didn't have the beard back then. It was just the goatee, bro.
Okay, it has been the goatee then.
There
You
we go.
must have walked in and you're like, you know what? There it is right there. We need Mr. Goatee. You're hired.
That's
Hey, I got to ask you, Paul, have you ever grown your facial hair out at all?
So I have. So believe it or not, I can actually grow a full beard like Tim. I'm really, yeah. So I don't have like the typical Fu Manchu Asian. Yeah, I know you guys are thinking that exact same thing. So don't even pretend you're not. Okay. So yeah. So it's weird. So I actually have a full beard. I've actually grown it out like yours once, but then I couldn't stop scratching it. So I was like, you know what? Screw this. Did it off.
Yeah, so that's just beard balm and a brush, and you just have to groom yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you should try it again.
No, you know what? Next time, you know what?
It could be 3 beards in a ball.
Ooh.
I'm gonna grow my beard out and be like, that's right. You know what? Not all Asians have a Fu Manchu. Okay, see this one? And look, it's not fake. I'll start yanking on it.
Nice.
So Tim, I didn't know that you lived at Auburn prison as well.
Yeah, I think it was just before you, because in 2004 we left in June, and the Marines were just starting to rotate back to use our facilities because they were just digging Hasties outside of Fallujah. And at night we used to sit up on top of the cell blocks and watch the AC-130s do the Star Wars thing.
Yeah, so 1-5, 1st Battalion, 5th Marines was there right before we got there, and we relieved them. So that would have been the same time frame.
Yep.
I got there. I was tasked out there in September 2004, and just before the battle. But yeah, we lived in the backside of the compound. We had our own little area, and we had to do our own gate guard on that. But that was like a vacation, man. That was like the best chow hall I got to see while I was there.
The chow hall was
like
bad there.
No, Mid-Rats was great coming off patrol.
Yeah.
And so we were the only ones that went outside the base that lived on that compound. Had a couple Army lieutenants yell at me for not saluting him, and I'm saluting them, and I'm like, sir, I just saved your life. Okay, you see that tower over there? Okay, they're watching all of us.
That's awesome.
Okay.
We need to do an episode on stories of dumb things that happen over there.
I got plenty.
Yeah, we could go for a couple hours on that.
Well, even dumb training stories too.
I was going to say, when we all got together, the reason the 3 of us came together is because we all found a passion for updating training, because we had experienced, like this, right? You go to school and they'll say, so you have to learn this, but you'll probably actually never do it in real life. because this is more of a theory, but it's important to know, but you're going to do something else. Or the other thing is when people would rotate in the country, right? And they get there and they're like, all right, we're all ready to go. And like, whoa, stop doing that crap. It's going to get you killed. Like, don't do that. Do this instead. And there always is, for some reason, a pretty huge gap between the theory of security or the theory of whatever training you're doing and reality. Right, guys?
Oh no, absolutely.
Go ahead, Paul.
No, there was, I mean, I'll use one example right now. We were in country 2008, 2009, and I can't even remember the unit that was replacing us, to be honest with you. On the third day of us, doing the ride along thing where we ride along with each other for 2 weeks to figure out what the heck's going on and passing on valuable lessons learned from one group to the other, things not to do. And one of the first things we told, again, a lieutenant was, stop saluting me, sir. We don't salute on base. Why? Because they mortar us. So please stop doing it. But the thing is that what I realized is that a lot of, I don't want to call them newbies, but a lot of the incoming personnel that are coming in on rotation, they always think that no matter what situation there is, that there's always a solution to the answer. Like, this guy did this wrong, that's why they got blown up. Or this guy did this wrong, that's why they got shot. What they don't realize is sometimes there is nothing you could have done that could have prevented that from happening. Perfect example, on the third day, we had a full bird colonel that was, it was a drone video of one of our convoys, not our convoy, the convoy that came in behind us, that got hit 2 minutes after we passed by a checkpoint. It was from standard road, vehicle going by, so when military vehicles go by, civilian vehicles have to pull off to the side, just like emergency service vehicles, right? And back home. So they pull over to the side, and the crazy thing was they were making a right turn. As the way the vehicle was parked, it was right where the intersection was. So when you make a turn, you have to always hug the corner a little bit to avoid hitting the other side. Well, all the vehicles did this, and apparently they knew which vehicle the colonel was in because they blew themselves up right as that vehicle passed by. And they were saying, well, they could have done this, they could have done that. And then finally, myself and another guy just looked at each other. We're like, there's nothing they could have done. And we said that because we were irritated about how, I don't want to say naive, but how arrogant they came coming in. And that's one of the biggest faults that I've seen in the security industry, is the people that have theoretical training coming in thinking that they know how to properly assess and perform a situation, just because they don't want to be looked down on when they come in with a bunch of new guys or older guys, for that matter.
Yeah, good point. Another thing that happened way back early, I don't even remember what year this was, whether it was 2003 or 2004. I bet it was early 2004 when replacements started coming in. But basically, there was a unit coming up. They had stopped off overnight at Talil and or Cedar, I guess. And then they moved up and they stopped for the night at Log Base Sites, which is kind of in the outskirts of Bayap. And mortar shell hit the shower trailer, and like 19 of them got killed like their second day in country. And felt bad for that unit, but like there's nothing you can do about that. And and this is where we really do need to look at the theory versus reality. Yes, there are lots of things we can control, but we can't control everything, especially when you choose to live in a dynamic environment, or you choose to work in a dynamic environment. But it's important to kind of help people understand what the things they can control are and what things they can't control. However, when those uncontrollable things happen, what should you do about it? What is the best case solution? And what are the other solutions in case you can't get there? What say you, Jake?
Yeah, well, I think this is where we talked about the basic essential skills. I think what needs to happen is that we really rehearse the things that we can predict that are going to be controllable, as in the team element. The team must be strong. We also need to make sure we understand how we'll be tasked out. And this is in relevance to deployed, where I was tasked out as a sapper, a demolition guy, and a route clearance guy with my IED sweeper with the grunts, infantry guys. But compared that to back home for a security company, where, or even you talked about Tim being a paramedic, where we need to be able to predict what kind of roles and billets are going to be involved in this said operation. And that's how we should train too. Because back home, when it comes to my combat experience, we never trained back home with the grunts. We did at times, try to, but we never trained the way that we actually operated in country. So to bring relevance to real life, try to train as close as you can to the real thing, but plan the things that are predictable, as in billets and positions who will be working together for the operation for mission success.
Yeah, and so that also is a sticky topic that we're really going to talk about, right? Is that when you try to get as close to reality, then people try to use fear to drive the learning, versus using stress and the lessons learned and the stress inoculation to drive the training, right? Like, and we're going to talk about this in a future episode, but it's kind of one of the main things that we want to call out as a training development flaw.
Yes. So I'll add a little bit to that real quick as we're on that topic. The main thing we want to do is remember that fear is natural. We all have fear. But if we learn how to respect those fears, then we're going to work towards a better, successful outcome for a lot of the things that we don't control. Because there's a whole lot out there we don't control. And if we let the fear win before we even get exposed to it, man, you're just starting out a bad day before the day even started. What do you think, Paul?
You know, there's a lot of it kind of goes back to what we were talking about in terms of you know, just the different types of, again, you know, theory versus reality, right? A lot of, you know, you guys all remember whenever, regardless if it was like a firearms training or a situational awareness training, or when they throw you guys into like this fake village, and then they have OPFOR guys just like murder you every single time because they've done it 1,000 times if you've done it once. You know, it's one of those things that it's nice, you know, it's always like a nice little, you know, macho thing to be like, I kicked your butt, even though I've done this 1,000 times, and you're running this course for the very first time. But, you know, sometimes I think that the training, needs to be, you can't, I don't want to say scared, but it brings awareness to you, awareness to certain things. Like some people, one of the worst things that can happen is if you get into a situation and you get tunnel vision, right? You focus on one thing and one thing only, and you forget about everything else around you. When as an operator for an executive protection firm, as a soldier, as a Marine, sorry, you know, I'm separating the two for you, Jake. That
earned title, soldiers.
That, you know, it's really, really, really important to you know, as a developmental piece, to have people to understand that, you know, security, you know, is in order to be good at it, the first thing you have to do is control yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, you kind of didn't bring up a point, but you did bring up a point, in that training should not be developed to stroke the ego of the dude that developed it or the instructors that are implementing it. You should leave your ego at the door, because the whole reason you're providing training is for the benefit of the other person. And I think a lot of times instructors want to appear so smart and they've done all of these things, and that can be really useful to a point, but we need to focus on delivering the benefits. And so I think, you know, what is this podcast going to be about? We're really going to dig into things that we don't normally think about in the security or training industry. Like, what is security? Most people can't answer that question. Most people in security can't answer that question. It's the thing we do, but they don't know what it is and what it isn't. Security is different than military and government service and law enforcement. We're going to define training versus education, a trade versus a profession, theory versus practice. And we're really going to dig into what this buzzword risk management is and how it applies to training and real life. I'm excited, guys. I think this is going to be super fun.
Same here, brother. Same here.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, this is Three Guys in a Ball. We'll see you next time. Where's my button?